I'm really delighted that we got one of our newly trained Rangoli radio presenters with us. And Drona is one of those guys who has been through the 6-week training, and he's produced some really interesting shows. So I thought it'd be useful for you out there to have a little bit of an insight into some of our presenters. So Drona, do you want to just start by introducing yourself a little bit?
Sure, Rasik, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me over. It's absolutely brilliant, and I must start by saying that it's a dream come true to be involved in community radio. I'm from India. I was born and bred in Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh, and studied medicine there, and left India in 1990, and then came to England in 1996 via Ireland. So I spent 6 years training in Dublin. Professionally, I'm a psychiatrist, but I see that only as a part of my personality, my makeup, and my identity. I'm a son, a husband, I'm a father, and I'm a friend, and I see those as more of me than just being a psychiatrist. I also have other interests, so I write, and my friends are very kind. And whatever words I put together, they consider that poetry, and they praise it and encourage me. So that's wonderful. One aspect. I love photography, but I only enjoy taking photographs with my mobile phone. And so I've recently created a series called "Walking in These COVID Times," and so it's what I see and interpretations only in black and white. So I quite like that. I'm a curious person by nature, and for me, change is the only constant. So if you look at my career, I moved countries, I moved places. In the last 2 years, I've lived in 3 countries. Right now I'm sitting in York, just outside of York, in a small hamlet. So I love change, and I love people. So I absolutely adore talking to people and interacting. And the more different they are, the better. So travel is one of my bugs. I love going to new places and meeting people, making friends. I love that. Hearing their stories. So I love if I get talking. I'll get them to tell me what makes them tick, and that's a fabulous thing, and that's in a nutshell is me.
Yeah, and when I listen to the shows that you've prepared, your curiosity, your thirst for really wanting to understand people really comes out. It's absolutely beautiful, and I know the listeners, when they start listening to your show, they're going to get drawn in because your kind of contagious curiosity really draws you into the show. So that'll be wonderful. But look, tell me what got you into wanting to be a presenter?
Yeah, so it's essentially trying to get to meet and interact with as many people as possible. So I can only have a finite number of friends. I can only have so many WhatsApp and Facebook friends and so on and so forth. And the other thing is that actually when you meet people in those fora, what you meet is what you have chosen. So it's a pre-selected group of people. People who either know my friends or are directly my friends. So there is no excitement of the unknown. Whereas when in a community radio or any kind of radio or television for that matter, what you find is that you don't know who you're meeting, and that adds to the excitement. And also getting my ideas out to lots and lots of more people than I would if I was simply sitting in a pub or in a cafe having a coffee with friends. It would only be a finite number of people. So it's that reach of a very large reach. So for example, when Rangoli radio started for the Hindu community, I was actually quite surprised that there were 15 to 17,000 people there. Now, it was just a surprise. Mm-hmm. When I reflected on it, of course, it doesn't come as a surprise because, of course, it's a large group and understandably so. But it's that exciting thought of meeting all those 15 to 17,000 people, and hopefully they will criticize my shows and maybe somebody will like them too. But actually, on that point, I love the criticism. I love when people say, "Oh, that's not quite right now. I'd rather you did it the other way." Because it gives me an insight into what they are thinking. And, so to have a variation in thought and to challenge what I'm saying, you need to have a thought yourself. And that becomes more important for me. So that's what brought me to presenting.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Criticism is actually the food for your curiosity, for your development, for really finding new angles and new insights that people hadn't thought about before, and that's wonderful. So we put on a 6-week training program, and Hariji and Bahinji and Divya really did a lot of work to make that possible. And I guess a lot of the listeners out there won't know how much work goes into preparing some of these things. So tell us a bit about your view from how was the training? What any sort of learnings from that?
Oh, absolutely. I actually loved it. The training was fabulous. And I had misgivings as to what the training would be like. On a professional level, I go to many training courses. It's a requirement to do so many hours of training in a year. It was very supportive. So I came in as somebody not knowing anything about Audacity, the software, or indeed broadcasting. And so it was the hand-holding, but not spoon-feeding. I love that. I like that combination of the support, but letting you have your own way. And that goes on till date. So I love that. It's a very collegiate group. I appreciate that. People are from very different backgrounds, and they have different skill sets. So, and they're very encouraging. It's actually quite humbling, when people say something and they really, what it tells me that they very carefully listen to my utterances or, what I've put together. And to know that somebody unknown to you, apart from the 6 weeks of the coursework, they've dedicated that amount of time. It's a humbling experience. And then meeting people like yourselves and the other senior broadcasters and getting your opinion on what we are preparing. So it was an enjoyable experience. I like reading. I have an interest in law, so I liked reading the code. It's a slightly geeky interest that I have in the law, so that was good fun. And also to see how much of common frameworks there are between practicing as a doctor and the code of practice that applies to us and to radio and broadcast code. So that was very interesting. But I would recommend the course to anybody, and to then get a sort of at the end of it all to be told that yes, you are now no longer a trainee, but you are a professional broadcaster. That does give me a few kicks. So I would recommend it highly.
That's wonderful praise.
Sorry, Rasik, I must add, it doesn't cost anything. Where do you get a course which is so good but costs you out? One should take it.
But the devotion that you have to put in, the course is only valuable because of the work that all of you as trainee presenters put into making it so good, right? So it's a big thanks to all of you that you're coming through this. And one thing is, you've started pre some shows. We've had some pilot shows. We've had some pilot ones. Tell us a bit about what listeners can expect from you.
Right. So I have always thought about each human being being unique, and that everybody would agree with. Nobody would contest that. But what I often struggle with is that how very few people get the limelight, so to say. So if you go onto Radio 4 or you go into the Times and you see a day in the life of, you only find people's views being shared and the life stories being shared if they're already known. So you get to know that celebrity a little bit more. But I refuse to believe that there are only so many celebrities. I believe celebrities are those, now this is my humble view, that who have been discovered, so to say. That every human being has an amazing experience in their lives, and if we only knew about their stories, it would be a stimulating experience. So I started thinking of how could we do that, and of course, I take the view that memory is everything. Without memory, we are nothing. We exist because of memory. Our plans, our aspirations in life, and what we like and don't like, the relationships that we make, everything turns on that one single point of memory. And so I wanted to explore people's memories, and I was very keen to to almost make the common man like me into a celebrity by inviting other people who are perhaps not as common as I am, but more accomplished. But even though accomplished, their stories are not known. So I wanted to invite people to bring their favorite memories and and talk about them on the radio. And so I thought in terms of how could we curate them, and that brought me to the whole point of museum. So I thought that we create a museum of memories, so Yadon Ka museum, where people can bring in their favorite memories and then and talk to us through them. And within that, I wanted to include all senses. So I prompt my guests to talk not just in terms of places or people or fabulous experiences of holidays, but to also talk in terms of smells and tastes and touch and so on. So all those elements come in. And then at the end of it, there's a bit of a twist in the program that we give them a chance to showcase two of those memories that they've talked about in a special showcase in the museum. And just as they are finishing up, they get the final surprise that I offer them as a token of thanks for coming on the program, the option to experience a new experience in their life, so that becomes a new memory for them. What people will listen is the kind of things people are choosing are just insanely amazing. The last guest that I've had, and I've just done another program, what she said was, it wasn't what I had expected at all. So I think people will enjoy what new experiences people want to have and create new memories. So that's what the show is going to be about.
Sounds wonderful.
All kinds of people.
Yeah, and I've listened to the first shows and they were wonderful. So I know you're bringing very accomplished people with very different perspectives. And I know this is going to inspire people. It's going to give them a completely different perspective on things they hadn't thought about. So, and that's great. That's what the radio is about, right?
This is it. I'd also like to add, Rasik, that what I hope is, and which I prompt people to do, is that hopefully my program will prompt people to explore with their close friends and relatives, because we rarely do that, isn't it? We rarely go and say, hang on a moment, tell me your stories. Where do you come from? And what did you want to do in life? What were your aspirations? What were the ups and downs? We never ask those things unless it comes up spontaneously. And so what I'm hoping is that people will then enjoy, forming those links and renewing links and exploring each other's life.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Look, let me thank you. And I hope everybody listening finds this useful and tune into your show. And we'll tell you more about it as we go live in the next few weeks.
Thank you so much, Rasik, for having me on. And everyone, please do listen to my show, Yadon Ka Museum.